What is the Better Business Bureau? That's one of those organizations that you hear about all the time, and you think you know about it, but in researching today's program, I found out you guys do so much more than I ever realized.
Well, you know, we do a lot, and the Better Business Bureau, there are a lot of great nonprofit organizations in this country. Better Business Bureau is really one of the best. What they do is they make information available to consumers to let them know what's going on with the businesses they might be considering doing work with to make a better decision. And for businesses that want to support ethics in the workplace, they will seek accreditation with the Better Business Bureau to show their support and to agree to the standards of the Better Business Bureau.
What you try to develop is a relationship where buyers and sellers trust one another.
Absolutely.
Is that difficult to do in 2011?
I don't really think so. I think the truth of the matter is most people, most of the entrepreneurs out there, most of the large businesses that are out there and medium-sized businesses understand that if you're not doing business honestly, well, it all comes out in the wash. Eventually it'll catch up with you. So there are a lot of organizations that have been around for a long time, and even newer ones, where people are very ethical and straightforward. And again, the Better Business Bureau provides a mechanism to help that to take place. What
kind of businesses join the Better Business Bureau?
Really all kinds of businesses. Just to give you a little example, as a consumer, I was having a new furnace put in a couple of years ago, and so I did a little research online and talked to friends, and there was one business in particular that it kind of appealed to me. The product that they offered, the furnace, the make that they offered was something I was interested in, and I was very close to choosing them. I got bids and talked to the representatives of the different organizations, and then went to BBB.org, the Better Business Bureau website. Found out that organization had an F- rating, and you'd be amazed, there was at least one full page of different types of complaints that were unresolved. And of course I decided not to use that organization. The one I chose actually was accredited by the Better Business Bureau, and they didn't have the lowest price. It was kind of a mid-range price compared to the others that I looked at, but I had a very strong sense of confidence because I knew if there was any kind of a complaint, if I was disappointed in any way with their work, I knew that they had the choice of either correcting the problem or being expelled from the Better Business Bureau. And almost 100% of the time when there is a dispute with an accredited business with the Better Business Bureau, you can be pretty sure that they're going to take care of things in a fair and equitable way for you.
It's funny you mentioned that because there's a local plumbing company I do business with, and the company has a reputation for being very expensive. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they have a reputation when they do it, it's done right. And I think in the long run, you economically are further ahead when you deal with a company like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of us have had those headaches where we just chose the wrong person to do the work for us, and it's just a horrible headache.
Now, what is the difference between the Better Business Bureau, Angie's List, Yelp, and Facebook? How do you differ from these organizations? Let's start with Angie's List.
Well, you know, those other organizations, informational websites, if you will, can give you great information. I'm one that believes in getting information from as many sources and perspectives as possible. The difference with the Better Business Bureau, well, number one in my mind is the amount of information available. They have millions of records on businesses. In fact, next year will be 100 years that the Better Business Bureau has been around. And again, through the internet, through technology, it's just amazing the amount of information you can get on organizations. The biggest difference between the Better Business Bureau and the others is it has the reputation of being a non-biased entity. It's a non-profit organization. There's no way to get good information into the Better Business Bureau website about your business. For example, I had someone that said to me once, well, if you're a small business, all you need is a large family or lots of friends to say lots of things that are great about your organization to the Better Business Bureau. And I said, actually, you won't find good information. You'll only find information really about complaints to help you make that decision. So you can't really brag about yourself as an accredited member of the Better Business Bureau outside of the fact that you're supporting this nonprofit organization with the intention of having trust in the marketplace and to be very open about the way that you do business.
Now, you mentioned next year is the 100th birthday of the Better Business Bureau. What was going on in 1912 in the United States of America that made some folks decide, whoa, we better form the Better Business Bureau?
The media, in the form of newspapers. This is the point in time where advertising in the newspapers became very popular, and the primary means of people getting information was the newspaper. And of course, there were exaggerations and lies and scams even back 100 years ago.
You're kidding.
Absolutely.
So that's what brought it to be, newspaper advertising.
Yeah. So concerned citizens and business people got together and agreed to, and this is really the key, I think, to the Better Business Bureau: self-regulation. Better Business Bureau has standards that are far above simple legal standards, but the Better Business Bureau standards are, well, as a consumer, if you take a look at the Better Business Bureau website and the standards that the Better Business Bureau stands for, that's what you're looking for in a business, people that we open and fair. I mean, let's face it, people require several things as customers. They want what they asked for, they want it when they asked for it, they want for the price that was promised, they don't want hidden charges and things like that, they want performance as promised, and they want to be treated in a respectful manner. And when any of those things aren't happening, we're very unhappy with the people that we're trying to do business with, and we all work very hard for our money. So the Better Business Bureau gives you that information to make a better decision in the first place, so that you don't regret later who you're doing business with.
How does a business qualify, and what type of business qualifies to be a member of the Better Business Bureau?
Really, just about any kind of business can qualify to be accredited by the Better Business Bureau. You have to be established, you have to be in business for at least a year, and the Better Business Bureau will kind of do a little investigation to see if there have been any complaints, primarily on their website, because if they're aware, they would have them. But they don't want to give an accreditation to a brand new business as soon as they get started. They want to see a little bit of a track record first. And really what it boils down to, and I mentioned that they operate, I believe, on a very thin margin. There are dues that are involved from the businesses that are accredited by the Better Business Bureau. And that is basically the only income stream that they have. And the dues are not really expensive. Even someone like myself, who's an entrepreneur, a one-person business, it's very inexpensive for me to do that. So a lot of times the question is, well, if you're accredited by the Better Business Bureau, what we used to call a member of the Better Business Bureau, you're paying the dues, so won't they favor the business in a dispute? And the answer is absolutely not. Again, when I first started working with the Better Business Bureau, it was refreshing. It was a great surprise to find out that we have a nonprofit organization the size that it is in this country that is doing so much to warn people about scams and help people to spend their money wisely.
Now, if one is considering joining the Better Business Bureau, besides being in business for a year, what are the minimum qualifications they have to meet before the Better Business Bureau would accept them?
Well, again, what they're really looking is to make sure that there isn't any negative information, lawsuits and things like that that are suggesting that you may not be a reputable business. And the Better Business Bureau is going to always err on the side of caution. They're not going to bring people in if it's a little bit suspicious, but if you have nothing to hide, you probably won't have a problem being credited by the Better Business Bureau if your customers are happy.
What sort of an impact does being a member of the Better Business Bureau have on an organization's or company's sales?
Well, as far as actual statistics, I don't have that information available right now, but what I would say is this. By using the Better Business Bureau logo, for example, as part of my signature in my emails and on my website, I know that people are interested to find that, well, I have an A+ rating, which in order to maintain an A+ rating, you have to be a member with the Better Business Bureau and without any unresolved complaints, and I'm fortunate enough that I have no complaints at this point. But it says a lot about your reputation, and again, for people that understand what the Better Business Bureau stands for, it demonstrates more than anything else that you're supporting honesty, ethics, and fairness and trust in the marketplace.
What would disqualify a business or an organization from becoming a member of the Better Business Bureau, and is there something that organization or business can do to rectify a situation so that they would be eventually eligible for membership?
Well, if you, again, if you do have complaints, if you are able to resolve the complaint in a fair and equitable manner, the Better Business Bureau will reflect that in their records. So it's basically not a hit against you if that happens. I mean, if for example, some organizations are going to have hundreds of complaints, maybe even a month. If your organization is big enough, and maybe a cell phone company, an organization that has thousands or even millions of customers will get complaints. But what you can find out is, let's say if you're making a choice of who to do business with that type of company, you might find 500 complaints over the last year. But if every one of those complaints was resolved in a fair manner, I think people understand, well, you know what, people will complain and will have legitimate problems. And if the organization is willing to respond and take care of it, then it's understandable. Some businesses rarely get a complaint, but even one that is not resolved that information will be reflected in the record, and if you're accredited by the Better Business Bureau, you will be expelled. And as you know, you'll see that in newspapers, you'll hear it on the radio, and you'll see it on television.
What sort of an impact has the Internet had on the functioning of the Better Business Bureau since 1912?
It's amazing. It is just amazing. Literally in just a few seconds, you can find out so much information about not just businesses, but even charitable organizations. If you go to give.org, that's part of the Better Business Bureau. It's part of our Wise Giving Alliance. And what that will help you to do is make better decisions as far as charitable organizations that you might want to contribute to. As far as the law goes, many people are unaware of the fact that those organizations, charitable organizations, can keep a lot of the money in what you might call administrative, the salaries and things. And in many cases, very little of the money actually gets to the people that you're trying to help. And you can do the same thing using our information on the website with a charitable organization to find out how much of the money is actually going to the people. You can actually get detailed information about the CEO, structure of the organization. And again, just like with businesses, we have high standards above the legal standards in order to let people know who is best to contribute your money to.
Now, if you have a member and at some point they are not meeting your minimum standards, as with any organization that your membership, you don't do what you're supposed to do, you delist them. That has to have a major negative economic impact on an organization to be delisted by the Better Business Bureau, right?
You would think so, yes, and I'm sure that that's the case very often. But again, the folks I was about to have my furnace installed by have been in our area for a very long time, and I don't see them going anywhere. On the other hand, they don't seem as busy now that I'm taking a look at their parking lot and talking to folks in the area. But the truth of the matter is, being delisted or having that F- rating, this particular organization was never accredited by the Better Business Bureau. And yet the information is still available. Anyone, myself or you or anyone else, can find out exactly what they've been up to.
Now, I want to get back to the Internet in a little while, but before dealing with the Internet, when someone is deciding to do business with someone, you hear about people that go up and down streets, hey, I'll do your driveway, and they appear to be credible, but in reality they turn out not to be, or I'll paint your house or whatever. What would you suggest people do before hiring someone?
Well, when someone unsolicited knocks on the door, and the typical, and what you're describing is what is, they're often called the travelers. Okay. Because when the weather gets warmer up north, we'll get an influx of folks that are, operating out of, and it's interesting, very often, not that you have to watch out for anyone with a white van, but many of them use a white van. It's one of the ways they actually know each other. So if people are approaching you and you haven't asked for them, the typical story is, just did your neighbor's driveway, for example, around the corner, and I have all of these leftover materials that, you know what, it's enough to do the job here for you, and you can get a cut rate. And when people promise that, first of all, they're going to do it for a fraction of what other people are asking, you want to be careful. And again, if people are not solicited, they're coming up to you and saying, hey, I can do some great work for you. But see, even having said all that, just go to the Better Business Bureau website, check them out, and if there's no record of that organization, you can start to ask some questions like, well, can I see your license? Can you show me that you are insured? And when you start to ask those questions and you're not getting answers, for example, I had one contractor couldn't come up with a contract for me to sign because he was moving offices. And I'm pretty sure his office was in his home, so I'm not sure how far he had to move, but no, that doesn't sound right. When it doesn't sound right, check them out with the Better Business Bureau.
Someone once told me, I took a business course with the Albany Chamber of Commerce, and one thing they said, you should be sure if you're signing a contract that you make sure that you have a contract that honors New York State laws and is covered by New York State law, because we're more protective in New York State than other states.
That's true in a lot of respects. Even, I would say, even especially the insurance industry, for example. Many people don't realize that state by state, as you say, there are different laws for different types of businesses, and the insurance industry is one of them. And New York is very rigid in terms of what they require insurance companies to do in this state.